So we chose to answer your question, Zach Hansen, who is my guest tonight on the Cash from Connections podcast. To answer your question before I hit record, we chose Valencia like I kind of did a sort of stats thing, you know. I
Mhm.
like shortlisted a bunch of places, good air quality, like good for personal safety.
Yep.
The university there, it's like a nice local economy, good sports facilities for kids, sunshine, dry climate. And I basically just went to a lot of different places and I was like, okay, you know what, for livability, quality of life, Spain seems to be really quite near the top of the list. Like we'd looked at Italy too, and Italy is beautiful, but just so many accounts of people that it's just a pain in the ass to live there for lots of reasons.
Okay. You'll have to send me a note after because we were looking at that. And I'd love to
Yeah.
know why you chose Spain over Italy.
Uh, I think it was one of those things, and maybe if you're not doing too much business in the local economy, it doesn't matter. But people just say like living there long term, very
Yep.
high personal taxes. This is why there's like that joke about like, Italian accounts, like they keep two sets of books for everything,
Yep.
one for the government and one to know how much you're really making.
Yeah.
And
That's gold.
and and then just bureaucracy and that sort of stuff kind of being generally a pain in the ass. But I think as a
Cool.
place to go for a year will probably be brilliant. But we were sort of looking at
Yeah.
maybe long term.
Cool. Interesting. Yeah, I always heard we were looking into Italy, and this is the thing I hate about information online is there's so much false information. And
Hmm.
it's especially with moving. I think moving is one of the best tools, especially like when I was building my business, we were all over Europe, and I'm so happy we did that because we just go to Eastern European countries where you could pay rent for 700 bucks a month in Bulgaria and live a great life and learn all the skills and do all the things. But when you look at like moving somewhere long term, I feel the information online is so jaded in the sense that I'd always hear like for Spain, for example, everyone would be like, oh yeah, there's these like digital nomad taxes and tax breaks and stuff. And then I hear from another lawyer, like that's complete BS, not real at all. Like it's just like, Instagram and TikTokers trying to get you to move there. But it's always conflicting. And so I heard the opposite about Italy. I heard that they have these great, representative tax visa schemes and stuff like that that you can go and live on 7% income tax. And you're saying yeah, actually, no, it's stupidly high personal taxes. So
Now, that the information has come from Italian people I've talked to who are born natives there. So maybe for them it's different. Maybe for you
yeah.
coming in as a digital nomad, there may be you need the local knowledge and you need the
Mhm.
expert advice. And of course, you need to just go to the place sometimes. Like we went to Italy earlier this year to sort of scope it out for would we like to live here? And we actually went to visit Sicily and I loved it. Everyone else got in the family got sick, so that kind of tarnished the whole experience. Like
That
four of
jades it
our
right
seven
there.
days were spent with my wife and kids in bed complaining. But
Yeah.
the experience we had in Sicily was that I really liked it. But what I
Mhm.
saw there was aging population and a place that felt like
Mm.
it had been much more prosperous 30 years ago. There was a lot of like what looked to have been nice hotels that were kind of half abandoned or just not well maintained,
Mm.
and lots of empty like commercial buildings around the towns, and then just
Mhm.
not a lot of young people. Like there was a
Yep.
really nice new, like newish, something that probably built in the last 10 to 15 years, football stadium in the town we were staying in. The
Mhm.
grass was 4 foot high. And I was like, what the
Wow.
hell's going on? And they're like, oh, just
No one's
there's
doing
no
anything.
there's
Crazy.
no kids. There's no kids.
Yeah.
There's no kids to play
Yeah.
football. That weirded me
Interesting.
out. And I was like, this ain't for me.
Amen. Yeah. And I've always heard there's a big difference. It's been many years, but I know there's a big difference between northern Italy and southern Italy too,
Mm,
because
yes.
with everything. So I know obviously Milan and Rome are way bigger business capitals than the south. And so much so that when I looked into this, is that they will actually give you lower income taxes if you're a pensioner and choose to live in the south. So they're
Mm-hmm.
really trying to exactly like what you observed, they're really trying to get people there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fading things,
Um,
man. It's the way, I guess.
yeah, you just have to go to really figure it out. And I mean, you can kind of make anything work, but I just decided that one wasn't for me. And I was like, okay, we could go back to Northern Italy. I've always enjoyed Spain, and it's close to Ireland, where my family's from. My brother is living in Portugal. One of my very good friends, who is a yachtsman, he sails into Portugal regularly. So I was thinking, I can just drive across. We can road trip all over Europe. There's a lot of fun
Hmm.
things we can do here.
Yeah, it's a good
Although,
hub.
again, other people are saying that Spain, the personal taxes are horrendous, but we're just going to figure it out, or
Yes.
do it Italian style if we have to.
There's always a way. You just need the right person to talk to. There's always a way.
Yeah, yeah. I got this buddy who's like trying to buy his car, his first car. He just got his license last week, and he's so excited about it. Like he just cannot wait to get that first car and get driving. But like
Yeah.
he's he's a citizen of one Europe. I can't reveal countries. He's a citizen of one European country, living in
Okay.
a third European, so living in a second European country, and he went to a third non-European country to get the license because they had faster, like you could do your license in 2 weeks instead of 6 months, like you have to do inside the EU. And
Hmm.
so now he's like, how do I convert my license and how do I buy a car and do all this registration paperwork? And he's like in this shit storm of like trying to figure out documentation across 3 different countries. And like that's how it is. You just have to do the thing because there's nobody can advise you how to handle that situation. You have to just muck in and do it, right?
Hmm. Amen, man. I know. I remember when we were actually last year when we were because we went to try to live in Portugal and we had a visa situation, so we had to leave. And we went to Ireland and we had a dog with us. It's so easy to travel with kids. Dog is challenging. So we ended up having to drive. I remember taking a train and I went to Belfast and then
Yeah.
rented a car in Belfast, drove back to Ireland, like northern, I guess you call it Southern Ireland or just Ireland?
No, well, okay. So geographically, the whole thing is Ireland. Politically,
Okay.
the north is Northern Ireland, and the
Yep.
south is either
Ireland.
ERA or the Republic of Ireland.
Okay, Republic of Ireland. So driving back to the Republic of Ireland, pick up family, drive all the way up, take the ferry across the UK, and then go. We found a great little Airbnb near Falkirk in Scotland. It was amazing. So we were there for a few months. But yeah, when you're on the road, you just make it all work. You definitely do. It makes you think a little bit differently, and it's a great experience. 10 out of 10 experience. I love it. So you guys will have
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
great movie.
The dog passport, we just did that a couple of weeks ago. We got to go back for the last dog checkup. Man, it's hard to travel with a dog, but the dog has its European passport now. The dog is a European.
I know, right? We were saying that too. We're like, our dog is an EU citizen. We would love that, but one day. I always love. I think Scott Galloway has this great quote where he says, "The U.S. is the best place to make money, and Europe's the best place to spend it." And I
Hmm.
think that's such a good line, especially if you're going down the working for a big company or starting a big company direction, because you get way. I feel like from what I've heard from people is in the U.S. and you get a lot more people just saying yes to things, less bureaucracy. It's just like, this sounds like an exciting idea. How can I support you? Right. And a little bit more of that, which is great. And I agree fully that from my experience, Europe is just a fantastic place to live. We love Europe. We plan on moving back one day when the timing is right.
That's not just bureaucracy, though. That's culture. Like,
Yes.
most of the people I work with are from the United States, where the simple reason is they're just less flea bitten and skeptical. Like people
Hmm.
from America are like, okay, yeah, this might work great, or it might be a total mess, but you know what? Fuck it, I'll roll the dice and give it a go.
Yeah.
Whereas people from Europe are very much like they want all their alternatives buttoned down. They have less of this
Hmm.
kind of like, screw it, let's try mentality. There's a lot less of
Hmm.
that here. And so, from the perspective of like building a business and getting clients and stuff, it's so much easier to do that when you work with people from the US because they're more willing to
Completely
take a
agree.
chance on you.
100%. Like without a doubt. I always found even when I did B2B sales for a software company, it was like
Hmm.
selling to US was great. Loved how, especially Southern Texas, great people to talk to. Very just like, yeah, that sounds interesting. I bet we are probably losing. So I sold procurement software back in the day. So probably are probably losing some money. Whereas Canada was just this big hurdle of, no, we're fine. Like, just a completely different culture and a mentality, right? So funny how that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. It's always downstream of the people.
Always downstream of the people. It's true. Culture is everything, right?
Where you live?
I'm in Campbell River right now, so small town in BC. We've been here about a year now, and it's nice. I have to say, the thing I love is such a small town family community. Um,
Hmm.
we're looking to moving a little bit closer to Vancouver though, because it's a little too remote for us. but overall, it's freaking amazing to just walk with the kids down the road, and you might see one car kind of drive by. I think there's about 40,000 people in the town, but it's right on the
Yes.
coast, so it's great. We go pretty much every day through the woods, just going for a nice trek and a nice hike. And I just love having that outdoor. I don't think I could do a big city. I think it would be a big push for me to be in a big city. So
Yeah.
we loving the experience. And yeah, I think we're gonna stay around here for a few years. And then I think goal in the future is probably buy a place in Europe or somewhere in Greece or Italy or somewhere along those lines, wherever the cards land. But for now, we're enjoying life here, other than
Cool. What
cold.
age are your kids?
We've got a two, just turned two yesterday, and daughter is now our youngest. Vienna is just a month today. It's
Oh,
quite
amazing.
something.
Oh, congratulations,
Goes
man.
so
That's great.
quick. You too. How many? You
Yeah.
have two kids too, right?
I have two. I've got and my boy's going to be 9 in a few weeks, and my daughter was 10 a couple of months ago.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and that time when they're little, it's great if you are living in a place where you got the freedom that you don't have to lock your doors and you can let them dig around and roll around in the garden and be
Yeah.
outdoors and kind of have that like there's not a strict barrier between inside and outside, like they get to roam around and you don't have to worry about
Mhm.
their safety. That's we're blessed to have that for a good part of our lives with the kids, and it makes a huge difference. So
Oh,
good.
absolutely. Yeah, I bet, right? I mean, I just look at my daughters too, and she just wants to be outside all the time. So anything you can do to promote that is huge. And normally we've been very passive during winter here because
Hmm.
we don't get much cold where we are compared to a lot of Canada, but it's just very wet and rainy, but it doesn't
Hmm.
snow per se unless you go up in the mountains. So this year we just said we're taking more of an aggressive stance. We're gonna get like full waterproof gear, like we're getting decked out and everything because we just love we just been going on this trail, and it's about an hour and 10 minutes every day, and we love it. And we just said, how can we keep doing this? Because we don't want to get that seasonal. My wife is Costa Rican, right? So gets that like definitely sun is a big factor. So we're
Hmm.
going lots of vitamin D, and we're gonna hit that trail. And just regardless if it's pouring rain or not, we're getting out there. Just taking a little bit more of an aggressive stance on the weather, making it work for you.
You really have to do that if you're going to live in the northern hemisphere because otherwise you can find yourself sitting indoors from October through to March. You could just sit indoors if you
Yeah.
won't decide that, screw it, I've just got to, I have to get clothes that are better than the weather, basically.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's an extra step or two to get out there, but then when you do, it's worth it.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Should we talk about some business stuff?
Sure, man.
What you do? Who are you? How'd you
What is
tell
all
me a
this
little?
stuff? It's so funny. It's kind of like in my mind when someone says, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Damn, what do I do?" Just has like a moment of pause. But the big thing I really help people do is I
Hmm.
run basically a program, and we're all about building productized coaches. And so the big thing that we're really focused on is helping a lot of coaches and course creators and consultants basically being able to productize their knowledge and then having what I call semi-passive income streams. So that's through
Hmm.
micro offers, mid-ticket offers, and then productized offers so that they can get paid really no matter what they're doing. And I think a lot of us, I really went down this path when last year I was doing a lot of one-on-one work, and honestly, I just burned out.
Yeah.
I was building a one-on-one coaching business that was basically like a one-on-one done for you coaching business because I would still be writing all the copy and doing all this stuff. And I realized that I was the bottleneck of the client. So we would meet every single week, and I would do the work, and then we'd be like, okay, let's meet next week. And I'd do the work again. Right. And it was just the model I set up was less consulting and here you go do it. It was repeating the same thing or doing the same thing over and over again. So what I've done this year since pretty much January 1st is just doubled down on a productized model, which is just creating an easy yes premium reoccurring revenue stream, a premium reoccurring revenue offer, which I call productized offer. And the idea behind that is that it's can be sold all year round anywhere in the world, which is so nice, using Google Docs, so without sales calls. And I think the big thing for me is I always struggled with throwing a lot of paint at the work and the biggest shift I made this year that has allowed me to like exponentially grow my business compared to last year was just having a really clear vision of where I'm helping clients go, and then everything falls underneath. So it's a bit of a long-winded expression, but the big thing I'm really helping people do is get out of the one-on-one grind and being able to really productize their knowledge so that they can get paid to get new clients and do it without sales calls on their own terms. That's the biggest thing.
So with productizing the knowledge, what shape does the product usually take? Does that mean a code? Does that mean courses? Does that mean books? What does it mean?
Good question. So it's a little bit of everything. And I really have, if you look at kind of my offer stack in my business, so I have three core offers. So I have a productized offer at the top. And this is basically a mixture of community where I have a school group, people literally just ask questions, whatever they have in there. I'm
Hmm.
there to help, whether it's copy reviews, offer reviews, just questions about anything, doesn't matter. We do 2 weekly Zoom calls and then also have just a number of courses. So the idea is that because we have the curriculum and the pieces in place, I'm able to then just support them on that curriculum versus me having to teach over and over again. Right. So that's kind of the
Yes.
first piece. Now, the big thing, what we do, the second lever is mid-ticket offers. And I used to be known as like one of the low ticket guys, and still love low ticket micro offers. However, I found this year especially, it's been significantly easier and faster to just create what I call a mid-ticket offer. Typically a workshop around $100. You do it as a live experience. I took a swing and started running paid ads to one of these, and it was very profitable. It had like a 400 word sales page. It worked really well. And I was like, damn,
Fantastic.
there's something here. So it's basically $100 offer that you can run ads to. And the biggest thing that you're selling there is intimacy, but it does two purposes. So the first thing it does is it allows you to get customers and teach something. But the second thing is it allows you to actually deliver for clients. So rather than if you typically have a group coaching program per se, it can be extremely overwhelming because you think I have to create now the course, I got to create all this curriculum, I got to create all this stuff. And what I found is instead of even doing that, you can just say, okay, we're going to create this and clients, you get access to this. Everyone else, if you want to buy a ticket to this, you can join as well. So then it serves client delivery as well as getting new clients. And
Hmm.
I think that when you get really complex with, okay, well, I need to create this thing for this people and this thing for this people and these things for these people, you really start running out of time very quickly and you get overwhelmed.
Yeah. You give yourself a big, horrible laundry list that just makes you feel like shit and you never get it finished.
Exactly. And that's why I'm a really anti-advocate of low-cost memberships. I freaking hate that model for so many people. Just simply because it's normally a solution, or they're trying to find a solution to the problem, which is their core offer isn't selling. So they're like, I'm going to create like a $30 a month membership. And then they've just created themselves that doesn't really pay them that well.
Yeah.
Pain in the ass.
Yes. So just digging into that sort of mid-ticket offer, the workshop type offer where I get it. It's like it's doing double duty. You're selling it as a hey, come to this experience, do it live with me. We're going to have fun. We're going to learn some stuff. And at the
Mhm,
same time, you're then creating a piece of content or a piece of knowledge that you can actually
mhm,
put into your members and say, hey, this is something you can learn from, or they could
mhm,
attend live if they wish. So it hits a few different pain points at once. But
mhm,
with that, if you're running ads to them, are you running ads completely cold? Are you running ads
mhm.
to retargeting audience? What are you doing there?
Yeah, so I'm at this point in my business where because I have so much pixel data, I'm able to just not target at all. So when I set these up, I basically just go into my ads manager and I do worldwide, no interest, just absolute blanket targeting, and I put the ads out there. And I
Hmm.
find what happens, and the cadence I typically recommend anyone who's doing a live experience runs is sell it first organically. So just send, and this is typically what I'll do is I'll build it in 1 or 2 days. And then as soon as I build it, I'll send an email and I'll get a few initial sales and then I'll turn ads on. Because a lot of people discount organic data for their Facebook pixels, which is a very
Uh,
powerful resource. Because a lot of us just think Facebook pixels is just for tracking. I actually think the most important useful tool of a Facebook pixel is targeting, because if you're able to season that with even just organic people, like let's just say you get 10 or 15 organic buyers and they trigger that
hmm.
pixel on that purchase. As soon as you go to turn ads on, Facebook already has an idea who's purchasing that, right? Because they're sending all that data back to Facebook, right? And then
Well,
this
this is
this
so
goes for Google.
interesting.
Yeah, this goes for Google, it goes for anyone, right? So it doesn't, and we often have this like clear divide between organic and paid, and I think it all fuses together. And that's why every single offer somebody purchases from me is has a pixel on it. So if someone joins my Catalyst program or pays me 10, $20,000 for something, I'm going to pixel that person and let Facebook know, hey, this person just paid me this much money. Because even if that person came from a referral, I still want my pixel to know that.
It's
That makes
I
sense?
this was something I was unaware of because I've really just started to buy traffic this year.
Cool.
Um, a lot of it has been like lead generation stuff, so a lot of lead forms, not a lot of actually really digging into the pixel. It's only become something that's become more important for me recently. And yeah, the
Hmm.
way I had learned it from other people was like, this is really something to track past events. I didn't think about it from this perspective you've just said about it. It's a way to actually help you become more, well, sorry, help your ad account become more effective at finding buyers for future events.
Everything, man. So yeah, if you ever work with a client, I would say the first thing you do is just go install it on everything. And if you can even, I know if you're doing local, they have offline conversion events you can send somehow. I
Mhm.
don't exactly know what that looks like, but even that is really, really helpful because especially if you're working with someone long term and you're generating them lots of traffic, then you can start even optimizing for the offline conversion as long as you're able to send that information back. And I know there's ways to do this. I know there's integrations and tools that it's, 2024, there should be a tool for that. You would think, right? Oh, I dropped my chair down there. But that's the big thing is any sort of data you can send back to that Facebook pixel is going to make your ads run better.
I don't want to digress too much into the weeds of nerdy stuff, but what are your kind of what's your thoughts on like how to set up pixels? Do you set up per ad account or per domain, or do you have some other third way of thinking about it?
So I use Go High Level for everything. I
Mhm.
basically just have conversion API set up on the event. So I'll literally just copy and paste the pixel code. I have one pixel for my entire business. Doesn't matter if I'm creating different offers because everything encompasses that. You shouldn't have like six different pixels. If you have like just think one business with one kind of core avatar should be one pixel. Doesn't matter what kind of offers you create under that because as long as they're again flowing to the same objective, that's fine. If it's a completely different objective and a completely different audience, then maybe have two pixels. But for my business, as an example, I have one pixel across the board. And then I just
Okay.
use, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's completely. So you've actually given me that there's actually it is a third thing. It's 1 pixel per buyer avatar. It sounds like.
It's one pixel per buyer avatar, but let's just say you're working with like you work with local folks, right? Because I've seen
Yeah.
some of your posts about what you're doing lead gen wise. So let's say you're working with a med spa. Like I would just have one pixel for that entire med spa. Don't overcomplicate that because it's smart enough. Like think about an e-commerce store as a complex example, right? Let's say you have men's and women's appeal, right? They're still able to see like, okay, because if you have conversion API set up, it sends like some of the product details and things. It sends a lot of that information back to Facebook, right? So it says like they purchased this product with this SKU and this information. And I think Shopify does some cool things there. I mean, I'm just taking a broad example of an e-commerce store where you have men and women. You would still only have one pixel, right? Even though you have two different avatars, it's mainly like, and for you, I would say for your clients, just have one pixel because then it gets complicated. If you're having like six different pixels for six different offers, I would just have one pixel across the board. And remember, the AI is smart. Like, especially now, it's very, very, very smart. I feel like the days of complex media buying are in the past. I really think we're in a period of time where, and I always tell my clients this, 99% of your focus should be on the creative. Like 1% maybe on targeting, but 99% is creative. That's it, which is so nice for us because we can literally just not obsess over, oh, I need to do this manual bidding strategy and I need to like toggle this placement and do this stuff. It's just like, hey, I want this objective and this is the best creative and run it.
Perfect.
Right.
It's interesting. The guy who really like taught me, like, or got me started with media buying was like a friend of mine. He gave me an ad account. He's like, run this traffic for me. And I did. And I was like, man, what do you need to do about all this stuff? And he's like, I was like, all this stuff, do you have to worry about this targeting and that? He's like, no, it's all a scam. Just fucking buy the ads. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And but like that was the best possible advice he could have gave me. Like it just took away.
Yeah.
And like this guy, is like he does maybe some more advanced stuff now, but his thing is he's just like that. He's like spending oftentimes multiple six figures per month. He has
Hmm.
like 10 to 20K days, and he's just
Hmm.
like, just a good ad. He's like, everything else doesn't matter a goddamn. Like, you got a good
Yeah.
ad, it works. Forget everything else.
Amen. Amen. And yeah, it's true. Like no matter how good your targeting is, if that ad sucks, it's not going anywhere. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's all the creative. And that's the nice thing. I think 5, 6 years ago, you had to be a little bit more strict with those things. But nowadays it's just and I love that they've lowered the barrier to entry as far as getting started because just how good the AI, I swear the AI, even though they've taken targeting options, is better than it's ever been as far as just getting the right buyer, especially if you're depending on what you're optimizing for, obviously. But getting the right people in the boat, like the Facebook AI is better than ever nowadays.
It means there's nowhere to hide as well. If it's not working, you can't just pretend, oh, we need to adjust the targeting. Oh, we need to change the bid strategy. No, 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 no.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, you got to
exactly.
go write a new ad.
Exactly. And now the one caveat I will say is because you're running ads for leads, you have
Hmm.
to be filtering down as much as you can on your ad copy as well as your lead form. Because if you get bad leads, and this is how the pixel works, is it optimizes what you point at it. That's why I whenever I have clients come to me, I say, hey, let's just optimize for purchases because it's easy, right? If people are buying, it doesn't even matter if they're qualified for our premium thing. Like we could just use that money to pour it back into ads. But when you're doing lead gen, you have to be a little bit careful because if you just put like I don't know, an example like free massage, right? You're gonna get so many people opting into that your quality of leads drops significantly. So you need to
Hmm.
like with targeting, I always say you're targeting with ad copy and you're targeting with whatever's on your opt-in page. And if you're running lead forms, like you probably just want to have like a really simple intent button. Like, is this something you're willing, like this deal is if you're putting an offer out, let's just say it's again med spa example for complimentary whatever. Like you just say, hey, this deal is activated for 7 days after you complete your information. Like, will you be claiming it within 7 days? And if they say yes, then that's great, right? So having like a qualifier on like that, and even in your ad copy too, anything you can do to qualify is great.
With the ads itself, the local stuff, I went and did Jeff Miller's program, and even Jeff is another great simplifier of like, he's like ad copy. He's like, no, no ad copy. He's like, the creative is your ad. You're not allowed to have any copy. Like he's like to start off because he's like, because if you start worrying about the headline and the description and your primary text and all that stuff, you're never going to get an ad published. So he's like, when you launch the ad, he's like, you're going to make a creative. You're allowed to, it's 1080 by 1080 square. There
Yeah.
might be a picture, doesn't have to be a picture. There's about 10 space for about 10 words in a big enough font that you can read it on any device because like he's thinking, most people are on a mobile.
Yep.
And he's like, so you've got 10 words, that's your ad. If you can make it work with like 10 words in a 1080 by 1080 pixel square, and then it'll just get better when you write ad copy and put other stuff onto it. But
I
and
love that.
again, liberating because I was like, oh, I gotta write this ad copy, oh blah blah blah. And end up
Yeah.
writing some long ass shit. And then you agonize over it. And he's like, no, no. He's like, just get Canva. He's like, I use Canva to make ads. And he showed me what he did. I was like, man, this is so, that's probably not going to work for a complex high ticket offer where you've got to, do a lot of belief shifting. But for local business, you don't have to
Yeah.
do belief shifting to get somebody to come for a massage or to, whatever, change
Yeah.
their waste management provider. You just got to
Yeah,
show them that it's
exactly.
there and present them with a deal. Like it's just
Yeah.
about an offer and a
Amen.
location, really.
Amen. Yeah, and it's funny even on the high ticket side, I always say that copy is a scaling tool. I really believe that a lot of people they overcomplicate that process and they write really long-winded sales pages and long-winded everything. And it should be like you should have the most bare basic stuff when you're launching because you'll know if the offer works by if you're getting traction. Like, and if you look at the SaaS business, like multi-billion dollar, probably trillion dollar example there. they always have the minimum viable product, right? And that's where I always kind of that was my background originally was SaaS, and I always say like these guys would just launch with the crappiest MVP, but if they still get customers, then they're like, great, there's something here. Now let's make it pretty, let's make it good. And offers are the exact same thing. Like if you have a good offer, the wrapping around that offer could be like just torn and look absolutely terrible. But if the offer is good, you'll still get buyers. And then guess what? Go put all those pieces together. Because there's no point trying, and I've made the mistake in the past was spending like a month or two creating an offer and then it doesn't work because you make it all fancy, you make the design look good, back and forth with the client, all this stuff, and then the offer doesn't work and you're like, well, shit, now I got to just tear this beautiful thing we built down and restart, right? It's just a waste of time. So I always say like
Yeah.
launch as fast as you can and then use copy as a scaling tool. Because probably for you, like starting with those Canva docs is great. And then if you have something that works, probably like adding a bit of a long form copy or even something short form there would probably just amplify it and make it better, right?
Yeah. It's also like that scenario you've just described. Like I've been in that scenario, and it's demoralizing, and it's a
Mhm.
relationship killer. Like, the people don't have faith after that happens. They're 20, 30
Yeah.
grand into a project, shit's not working. And like what started out with excitement and optimism suddenly turns into like recriminations and bitterness.
Yeah, man. I've been there
And
too.
like
It
at that point,
sucks.
it's not getting fixed at that point. It's just going to get abandoned because there's no love left. Everyone's sick of it. Don't want to look at it
Yeah.
no more and move on. And whereas if you go the other way, like you start off really small and basic, and it's like if it doesn't work, it's like, oh shit, okay, let's just try something else. And if it
Yeah.
does work, it's like, oh, this is great. Like, we got a little bit of fire here. Let's start to add some more twigs onto it and see if we can get it going good.
Amen. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, especially for most people where it's a lot of, and again, a lot of offers people build, especially copywriters, like are cold traffic dependent. So just keep it simple because cold traffic, you need more elements, but you can still keep it very, very, very simple to start. And then exactly like you said, pour more fire on it when it starts working, right? Hire that rock star designer, get the VSL done, like all those things. But you should be able to just put an offer out there and see if someone says yes. And I have this, I always remember this really clicked for me. I had this woman buy my product and she send me a message saying like, oh yeah, I made like 700 or 800 bucks in profit in the past month with my micro offer. And I said, cool, can I see the page? And it was just the most bare basic, like I couldn't even believe it was working page. And I'm like, okay, I've been completely overcomplicating this. This woman just came in and saw my bare basic template and made it even simpler of like, this is what we're doing. This is what you're getting. Who am I? Here's like the checkout. And it was working great for her. Right. So it just goes to show like start simple and then get the validation and then crank everything else. And honestly, even for copywriters that work with clients, if you think about it like from a perspective too of you're wondering like, oh, how do I approach a client? Like if you try to give them a huge project, that's like a huge undertaking, right? Hey, we're going to build this massive low ticket funnel for you. There's going to be 3 upsells, 2 downsells. You're going to need to record, probably like 3 hours of VSLs where it's like, hey, let's just test this one thing and see if it works. Like I'll just put together this bare basic page. Let's just see if it works, right? And you can just start there. It's so much easier. And for the client, it's such a relief because they don't even really need you. I get pitches by copywriters all the time now, and so many of them I just ignore because they make it sound like work. In the sense of hey, I'll write your emails. Can we jump on a call to discuss? And I'm like, first of all, not giving you
No.
my email list. I don't even know you. And second, I don't have time for calls, man. Like, it's so funny. So it's simple projects work very well, and they're such a great introduction strategy to get clients too. That's what I used to do back in the day, and it worked really good.
Yeah. The coffee date. That's
Yes.
the thing that people do, and I mean, I cringe because I remember I did that at some period in my life before I realized this is stupid. You've got your new client, they're happy to take you on. They've probably sent you a bit of money or a deposit to get started, and then and a lot of people do this like, okay, here's my onboarding form. Can you fill this out? And you've given your client a job, like, and it's 30 questions, and they just look at like, wait a
I
second,
know.
didn't I pay you? Why the hell am I
Yeah.
doing this shit? You know.
I know, right? That's so funny.
Whereas if you're just smart enough, like to think it's like, I'll just have a little chat with them and ask them a few questions. And
Yeah.
you get the same information, but they feel good about it. Or you do it in a
Yep.
format that I'm going to interview you for 20 minutes for a video, and I'll use this to make some of the content. Like just in a way that's
Amen.
flattering to them instead of giving them some crappy job like homework to do.
Yeah, yeah, and you could probably ask most people because depending on where they are, they probably have that information already. So it's
Hmm.
getting them to do double work, but on your terms. And yeah, the best people that I've brought into my team are just able to just I'm able to record a voice note and go. They don't need like, oh, can you like tell me where this is or tell me where this is? They're just like, I'll figure it out. And I always say like, I'm happy for you to take more time and get stuff done, but just figure it out. And because
Yes.
the last thing you want is to create another job of taking care of you. That's like the worst freelancer thing you could ever do.
I don't know. Do you know my friend and fellow Canadian, well, Canadian South African, he's a bit of both, Matthew Volkwin?
I think so, yeah.
He's always he runs a mastermind for copywriters. He's got 100 of them in there. And he's always talking about the UYB principle. And you can guess UYB stands for use your brain. And he started out as kind of a semi-sarcastic joke where like, this is basic shit, lads. You should be thinking about this and just figuring it out for yourself. But like the funny thing that's happened is he started repeating it all the time. And now he's got guys coming like, Matthew, this UYB principle of yours, it's like been really transformational for me. It's really helped my approach to business.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. And you know what it is though? It's obvious to us because we've been doing this for a while, but remember like when you're shifting even from like a corporate mindset to here, where a corporate mindset like is extensive onboarding, like if you join a new job, you're gonna go through vigorous training. They're gonna like spoon fed you every single piece of information, right? And
Yes.
it's just a different mentality, right? And so when you shift over to a freelancer or even just a self-employed business owner, whatever you're doing, right? It's a different mentality of having to be a little bit of a go-getter and get all that information rather than just getting it spoon-fed to you. Because that's
Yeah.
just and all of us we have that even school, like even in high school, they do the same thing. Here's your textbooks, here's everything you need. Here's like a practice quiz. Here's a second practice quiz. Guess what? The quiz questions are almost identical to the practice quiz. Like it's literally like we're spoon-fed all this information. And whereas this, we have to be a little bit creative and think like, how can I literally reduce the bottleneck on this client so that I can help them to the best of their ability? And I think the best people are even able to see things and even just listening, like if you're in a Slack channel with a company, being able to pick up on something that is a bottleneck or a problem and being able to go fix that without even being told to, right? So there's lots of things that you can do. It's just it's becoming like if especially if you're working for a business or even freelancing, it's becoming an intrapreneur. Intrapreneur is that
Hmm.
guy's name? Pat Bet David I would always call him. And
Hmm.
it's such a critical pinnacle role in any organization of someone that can do that. But it's about being entrepreneurial inside an organization. It doesn't stop when you get the client and the money hits your account.
Yeah. I've been working with this client recently. I've been doing it's almost entrepreneurship. It's like a consulting gig with an agency, but they're an agency
Nice.
that did organic social only, and they wanted to bring in ads for their local
Okay.
businesses. So they asked me to come in and do a little bit of consulting, and it's been such a great matchup because they have an established client base, they have a good reputation, and they have all
Hmm.
these clients who want ads, but they can't do them. And they're like, okay, can you come in and do this? And we worked out an arrangement where it's performance based, so they don't have to invest
Excellent.
a lot of money with me up front, but we both make plenty if when it works. And when it
Yep.
doesn't work, it's stuff that we can spin up in a day, test in 7 days, and then shut down if it doesn't work instantly. And there's without damaging client relationships. But
Love that.
it just really simple model. But that's the entrepreneurial thing. And like I saw stuff like, I gave that client, I said like, hey, I want you to do this little video, so we can just, reduce your time on calls and kind of make it simpler that you can give some of the sales process up front. And
Hmm.
I gave her that, and she goes and records it, does a great job. We get that put up on a page, no problem. But the great thing
Hmm.
she took that and she ran with it and she turned that video script into a mini sales letter, and she
Oh,
distributed it
nice.
to a big email list she had of like people who had further like people who were sales representatives selling to a second level of client beyond her. And then
Okay.
just And just that mentality of like, just, and then it's like, oh shit, there's a whole list of now new opportunities coming to us that we're both going to do well off of because of that
Mhm.
different type of thinking. And like, I'm really grateful to be able to work with her and what a great team she has. But it's like, it's not a new experience. I've worked with people like that before. But when you contrast that with the kind of other type of client relationship where it's kind of passive and the client just gives you a task and then you do it and then you come back or whatever, it's like when you've got both sides of the table like throwing more in than
Mhm.
they're expected to, or
Yeah.
not thinking about it from this perspective of I'll just do my part. You like,
Yes.
it just you get exponentially more, everyone gets exponentially more out of the arrangement. It's like
Oh,
everyone wins so
1,000%.
much better.
Yeah. I'm even looking at potentially because I want to structure my team so that there's incentive. And so I'm even looking at putting together saying, hey, if we hit these milestones, which is just, having a team 101, I'm just really doubling down on it this year. But it's so obvious that I'm like, why haven't I done this? But putting together some sort of incentive where, okay, if we hit this number of clients or this number of clients, we have different rewards, including like monetary and time off next year, like paid time
Hmm.
off. And I'm like, if you can just, if you, and the nice thing, if you're freelancing or you're working for a company, like you can set these incentives and oftentimes people will be game because they want you to have skin in the game. So if you can set something where we can say, hey, if I hit this mark and this number, then I get this performance bonus. Like that's huge. And I did that with a client recently. I said like, it's this price to join. And then once we hit this number, then you pay me out this. And it's great because then I care, right? Rather than, ha, I got your money. I hope it works.
So you gave me your first
Yeah.
level and your second level,
Yeah.
and then what's the third level?
For offers,
Yes.
yeah. So productized offer is the top. And one thing I'll say about
Yeah.
productized offer is that uh, a big problem I saw is that it's typically like this game, especially in like high ticket businesses, a lot of the time, is that they lean on salespeople and sales pressure, not sales pressure, but salespeople and sales teams a lot. Meaning
No,
that
sales pressure. Let's be brutal here. Sales
sales
pressure.
pressure, right? And they're good at it. Like some of them are
Oh,
very, very good at it, right?
they are.
But the thing that I always see is that you always have to sell them into another offer, right? So it would be, for example, like if I think of just a business off the top of my head, like clients and community, they pay, I think their program's like 5 or 10, I think it's about 10 grand up front for their prominence one. And then they have, I think their scale mastermind is 20 or 30K on the back end, right? And all of those require a sales team and a sales process, right? And so the big thing I just want to hit on with productized offers is that actually everything kind of falls into one offer. And I got this idea from, well, James Kemp was the one that really showed me, and I've been in James's program for a few months now, and that guy's just has guided me so well as far as being a better person and a better coach and everything. And I full credit to James. But I really started seeing this too when I looked at Design Pickle, who I think they scaled to about 30 million in annual recurring revenue. And the thing I noticed right away with Design Pickle is that when you go to their pricing page, literally it doesn't matter which option you choose. The core premise their offer is the same thing, which is we will be your outsourced design team. It doesn't matter if you want the basic package where you do a few images, the one that's a little bit higher that includes videos, or if you want like an enterprise offer where they'll probably integrate themselves into your team's Slack channel. It's like the core premise of the offer is still the same. Like we will be your outsourced design team. And so with one thing I want to hit on with productized offers is what I'm doing now. Like I've just had this base level called the Catalyst for the longest time. Well, for 8 months since I've been doing this. I say longest time. It's been, a few months. But what I'm doing now is I'm now having a one-on-one offer up here, which is going to include like a part of my team. If you want us to build your funnels and do all that jazz, that's here. And then a lower level. But everything still falls into one offer. It's just like it's still a productized offer and they have different entry points there. But it's not like I have to then resell people, if that makes sense. It's like literally just a very natural flow. So everything that you're doing from mid-ticket and the final one, which is micro offers, should be flowing to your productized offer. And it's ideal if you just have one core entry point in there. I think when I create the lower tier, that's probably going to be my entry point just to reduce friction, which is my entire goal with the sales process. I just want to make it as easy for someone to step into my world and work with me as possible, which is why my Catalyst program is like, hey, you can get started for $250 a week. Like you don't have to pay me 20 grand right now or anything like that. It's just 250. You can cancel anytime. It's very easy to say yes to that compared to Okay, 6 grand payment plans. You're on the hook for 12 months, right? So also it keeps me accountable to over deliver, which I love. The final layer coming back to that is micro offers. So what I say is once you have a good mid-ticket offer and it's running and working well, what I found every single time is I have a countdown timer on all my mid-ticket offers of like, we're going live in this amount of time. As soon as that countdown timer hits 0, the offer dies. Pretty universally. People love the live experiences, but trying to sell an evergreen $100 product on the front end, quite difficult. So what I say is
Yes.
take that offer and then turn it into a micro offer. And so micro offers are like, classic low ticket offer. I'm finding best price points for those around like $8 to $14.95. I love that 95 number for some reason. It just rings. But somewhere in that price point is great. And that goal is just pure lead generation and start the relationship, right? Add in your upsells, your order bumps, all that jazz. So I always say though, work backwards. Don't try to, the mistake I made is I built Sell Will You Sleep first, and then I had no idea what I was going to send into. I thought it was a high ticket program, and that didn't really work that well. And then I'm like, okay, let's just start throwing stuff at the wall and see what works. And that's how we
This,
got here.
this is interesting because I'm thinking about all this stuff and thinking about stuff that did and didn't work for me. And like I've sold some high ticket stuff. And again, yeah, like sales pressure, friction, people like will I, won't I, all that stuff. Sold mid ticket, which is relatively easier, but then you feel like
Mhm.
you're on the hook still to deliver the same amount of value as with a high ticket program. And it's like, I'm not making that much money, but I still have to create new content for these guys every week. And it becomes a
Yeah.
grind really quickly. And then
Mhm.
um, the low ticket stuff I actually haven't done very much of yet, but I've been like, testing the waters with a couple of things for some clients.
Mhm.
Although I've moved these days much more on the local biz stuff. But I still
Mhm.
think there's elements of that we can integrate for the local biz guys as well as other ways to monetize their business. So I don't want to let it go entirely. But
Absolutely.
what I wanted to say was the live workshops. Like I've sold quite a few of those over the last few years. People just love them. They're the
Yeah, they
easiest thing
do.
to sell. For some
Mhm.
reason, like I'm doing a live training on such and such a date, and it's going to be $50 or it's going to be $100. It's just an easy yes for people. They love coming to a live thing and hanging out with you. It's crazy.
Yes, they do. They do. Uh it's a big difference between I think intimacy always is a fantastic tool for sales. Always. Because exactly, people love to jump on, they get their questions answered, do live examples like, "Oh, pull up your screen. Let's do a screen share," right? We got like 60 other people here, they'll benefit too, right? So it's a great people just love getting live help and live experiences. And I've seen that like the proof is as soon as that countdown timer goes 0 and I tried to every time I've tried to evergreen one of these things, it dies. Like it just does not work. It works. I will get a pour of sales the last few hours before that countdown timer hits 0, like typical launch. But yeah, when as soon as you take that countdown timer off the page, that offer is dead. Like it doesn't work as well anymore.
Yeah. It's
But the nice
Trevor,
thing is,
Trevor. Oh,
oh
go ahead.
no, go for it. Go for it. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I remember going to Trevor Towcracker's event last year, and that was one of the things he really drove home. He's like, it's not a real offer unless there's a deadline. Because if they can get it any time they like, why the hell should they make it their focus, their attention right now?
1,000%. Yeah. And I'd say you can even amp this up more for client, like anything that involves your time. And I was just saying this on the call today when I was talking to my Catalyst group is um, talking about discounting. And I said, I'll never discount my time. But at the same time, because your time is valuable and it's a scarce resource, you can always limit the amount of people you let in your coaching group. And this is I remember reading in $100 million offers, Alex Hermosi was talking about doing this. And I never really got it until I started doing it this year, where I'd say there's like, hey, there's 5 spots. And then I remember when I opened this in January for the first time or the second time when I was filling I put 10 founding members together. And on the final 5, I had 2 people pay after the deadline. And I ended up sending them a message, refunding them and canceling their accounts. And I think that if you can stick true to scarcity and urgency, it's a fantastic tool because rather than saying, hey, I've got like spots open this week, if you can put urgency and scarcity in the sense that, hey, we have 3 spots this week and I've already got 5 calls booked. So you might not get a spot, but if you if you want a chance, like book a call here, or here's the information, you're way more likely to get someone either to a yes or no. Maybe is the worst thing ever in sales. You never want maybes. And if you're not using deadlines or you're not using scarcity, you're going to get maybes because there's no reason for them to act now. I'd rather prefer a no or a not right now versus a maybe any damn day of the week.
Something just popped in my head while you're saying that, and there's a particular thing I'm doing with a client right now where
Oh, nice.
I just realized that, we have scarcity because they do it at a they do it on a cohort model where they put a certain number of people in each time. We
Yep.
don't really have urgency because we don't put a hard deadline on when it starts. We just
Mhm.
realized we need to maybe look at restructuring that during the week. So
Open and close it. Open like that's what I've been doing. And my cadence typically, like I just took 4 weeks off. Well, off. I worked about, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours a week when our newborn was born here. And I'm happy to report I watched more of the Olympics than I worked, which I was extremely happy with. Finally shows business paying off. After the blood, sweat, and tears for many years of figuring this all out. But the the thing that I've found is that if you just open and close offers, even have like a week deadline. So what I'll typically do if I'm full going here is I'll do like a mid-ticket offer and then I'll open that. I'll maybe promote that for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And then I'll close that open productized offer for about a week, close that, another mid-ticket offer, open and close, open and close, open and close. So that, and you could do the exact same thing with a cohort model. It doesn't make a difference. The other thing I'll say too about I was just talking to someone about this on the call today, is we always have these weird, crazy, false beliefs and ideas about different models and how they need to be structured. So, as an example, if if I started a cohort right now, and this was my problem last year, is I started a cohort in January, and I just had this feeling like I couldn't sell anything for 12 weeks because I was doing this cohort. And I just thought like, well, I've got all these people here. What am I going to sell? Like I've got, I can't do this. The reality is I probably could have opened that thing 6 more times. And we always freak out about people blending. People blending is great. It's never been a problem. I get people on my calls that are doing like 30K a month. I have people that are, relatively new or early on, and it's never a bad problem to see those people mix. But if I was
mhm.
doing this, it's like the idea that we can publish offers consistently no matter what we're doing. Even if we're like week 4 into a cohort and you get new people, say, hey, welcome to the call, new people. Like we're in week 4. I'm teaching this content right now. You guys probably want to go back and catch up, but like I'm going to teach week 4 here. You might have some questions on this. Feel free to stick around. Okay, let's do it. Like dive in, right? And keep teaching the content. There's no reason that you have to, we have this crazy idea in our mind that everything has to be extremely sequential, but that's just old programming. I don't know why it's there. It was there for me for a
School,
really long time, but
school. You show up in
yeah, right.
September, you graduate in June.
Yeah, I
School.
guess so, right? That's it. So once I broke that, it just made it so much more fun and so easy because then I'm like, oh, well, I can just sell an offer now. And then I remember I opened a cohort offer this year and it was like an 8 week cohort about launching a micro offer. And then 4 weeks into that, I opened the Catalyst, which all of it was in the same program. So it didn't matter. And I just invited more people in, right? There's no rules to this. We always put rules on ourselves, but there's literally no rules to this game. You can play it how you want. As long as you get good client experience, that's all that matters.
At this point now, what channels do you find are bringing new people the most into your world?
I would say like for me, it's all Facebook ads. Every
Okay, wow.
single, yeah, every single person in my world has come from a Facebook ad.
Yeah, I've noticed lately as well. It's a lot of your ads are family life. It's always you and your wife and the kids. Like, well, they're your daughter, so not
Yeah,
the
yeah,
not the.
yeah.
I think is there a couple? I feel like I've seen a couple with the baby with that. But the thing is your stuff like your ads blend in with your um content,
Social
so
stuff.
I can't
Yeah.
tell what's an ad and what's not because you only unless you look for the sponsor, you don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, no, I know. I found for ads the best images for me actually right now are when I'm running mid tickets. I'll just go on Canva and create the crappiest little like step by step process. So I did like for the productized offer one. I think the best one. I think I had a few videos that did good. I can't remember, but I remember the best image was literally like taking a client example and showing like micro offer, mid-ticket offer, productized offer, and then showing the buyer journey, which was, I think it was stranger buyer, repeat buyer, client, premium client, and just showing that, because showing is so much better than telling. And so you can just, I know, yeah, I include a big mix of everything just to test, but I find just showing what you're teaching can work very, very well.
Yeah.
100%. But yeah, everyone from paid ads, everyone, I haven't cracked, and I don't plan on cracking the organic code. I think it's really hard to compete against a Mr. Beast on different platforms. And so my whole thing is I like to bring people into my world, and I'll pay for them to come into my world. And then I'll use content to build a further relationship and pre-sell them.
Hmm. Are you a big email guy? Do you put a lot of effort
Yes,
into email?
every day, pretty much every day.
Ah,
Yeah.
there we go. I think it's
Yep.
the thing enough. I mean, and myself included, a lot of people just don't do enough of it. The reality is, if you're going to spend money to get a customer, you bloody well better keep on emailing them as long as they keep reading.
I think the big thing is you have to spending $5 a day on a lead magnet. Like you have to have new blood on that list, or you don't get motivated to email. I remember when I stopped running ads for my Sell What You Sleep product because I couldn't figure, it was too expensive to get a customer until I figured out worldwide targeting is the way to go. Uh, it was so hard to email because I'm like, oh, I'm probably losing subscribers every month because they're unsubscribing and we don't have fresh people on here. And so I think the way you get around that is you just have to have something running where you're just getting new blood on your email list. Because if you do, then you're like, okay, great. Hey, there's like 3 more people I got to show up today. Right.
I
But
like it.
if you don't, then it gets tricky. So even just like $5 a day just to tell your mind that there's more people coming on there with just like a stupid, easy, somewhat targeted lead magnet can do wonders just to get you in that habit of emailing.
Um, and you said you worldwide, you're advertising everywhere,
Yeah,
the whole planet.
whole planet, man. It's I've gotten clients in, let's see, Dubai, Philippines, Netherlands, France, like all over. Brazil. Um, yeah, it's worldwide is the way to go.
Wow, I would not have expected that. Um,
Me
where
neither.
I would
Me neither.
completely not have expected that at all. Amazing.
Me neither, man. It shocked me when I had this guy from the Philippines join and full pay like 6 grand for my program. And I was like,
Hmm.
shit, okay, this is it. So it's yeah, I think we often just think core 5 countries. And I remember Anik Singal posted something in January or December about trends, and he said worldwide targeting. And I said, cool, let's test it. And as soon as I did that, like my offer was revived basically.
Amazing. It's
Yeah.
interesting that when you say it now, I think about it, it's like, there's a social elite in every country, and they
Yep.
usually speak English.
They usually do. Yep. And as long as you're, again, caveat, if you're targeting for like a lead gen campaign, I don't know if I would do that, or I'd be a little bit more skeptical. But if you're targeting for purchases, absolutely, because a purchase is a purchase, right? Doesn't make a difference, whereas a lead is a little bit different. So that's the one caveat I'd say, is that if you're trying to do like going to a webinar or something like that, that's a tough game to play. I couldn't even help you.
You'd want deep pockets for that for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't even know what I'd say. I'd be like, okay. What
Okay.
I'd probably tell, put an offer on the thank you page of as soon as they opt in that they could buy, and then optimize for that. But purchase pixel is great.
Amazing. Zach, you give me a lot this evening to think about and to actually put into action on stuff that I'm working on right now. So really
Cool,
appreciate it.
man.
Apart from clicking on your ads, where else can people find out about you?
Best place right now is, I mean, sellwhatyousleep.com is honestly like such a good offer. It's $11.90. You get all my templates and everything. Fantastic.
SellwhileyouSleep.com. Yes.
You got it.
Sticking that in the show notes. Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Appreciate you, John.
Yeah, great conversation. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording now. Cheers, Zach.
Cheers, man.